It is 9 a.m., which means it's time for the regular session of the Madera County Board of Supervisors meeting. I'm going to call this meeting to order. Council, do we have any additions to the agenda?
Chair, members of the board, yes, there is a request that you add an item to the agenda because it arose after the preparation and the posting of the agenda, and there is a need to take immediate action because it involves a request for you to approve a contract with the state that is to go into effect July 1st. At your meeting last Tuesday on the consent calendar identified as 7I, or is that L? There was an agreement listed and you approved it, thank you, with the California Department of Healthcare Services, and the Medi-Cal Inmate Program Services Agreement was in the backup. Along with this addition to the agenda that's being requested, it just wasn't a part of your requested action. So the request from me is to add a Medi-Cal County Inmate Program Participation Agreement between the county and the state of California that arose after the agenda was posted. I have a copy here for the public, and there's one for you, members of the board. Thank you.
Thank you, Council. I'll bring this back to the board for any action.
I'll move that we take up this item and find that the need to take action, immediate action, arose after the posting of the agenda.
Second.
Excellent. We have a first and a second. Roll call, please.
Supervisor Gonzalez.
Yes.
Supervisor Wamhoff.
Aye.
Supervisor Rogers.
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras.
Aye.
Chair McCauley.
Yes.
Vote passes 4-0.
Thank you
Excuse
for
me,
that.
5-0.
Excellent. Thank you for that. Council, do we have any, or can you please read our closed session items into the record?
Yes, Chair, members of the board, there's one item for your closed session under Government Code Section 54957.6, conference with your labor negotiators, your agency designated representatives, are Shanika Dixon, your Director of Human Resources, Joel Begay, your Assistant County Administrative Officer, and Sabrina Mendez, your Human Resources Manager, to discuss all units of employee organizations and unrepresented employees, all classifications but not elected officials. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you for that. Do we have any public comment in the room or online in regards to our closed session item?
None online.
Seeing none, we will retire in a closed session.
I know.
All right, it is 10:01, and we are back from closed session, which means it's time for the public session of our regularly scheduled meeting. Council, do we have any reportable action out of closed session?
Chair, there is no reportable action from your closed session. However, when you can recess for additional time in closed session, that's the recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you for that. At this time, I'll look to my colleagues for anybody that'd like to open and close the meeting in memory of. Seeing none, we'll go ahead and invite up Pastor John Purcell from Believers Church to lead us in the invocation. And I'd ask my friend Lois Leonard to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Everybody rise. Thank you. Let's all pray together. Heavenly Father, we come before you today with thanksgiving and honor. We thank you for this beautiful day and for the strength and the life that you've given us today. We also thank you for your help and your wisdom in governing the affairs of men. We ask you, Lord, to give us your wisdom today. We ask you to direct our thoughts and to help us all to be all that we need to be to those that live in this county. Thank you for your blessing upon the families of those that are serving us by leading us on this board. And we ask you, Lord, just to bless and take us into the future that you have for Madera. And we thank you for it in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen.
It's okay. Ready? Salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Excellent. Thank you for that. At this time, we'll look to the public for any public comment they may have. The first 15 minutes of each regular session are set aside for members of the public to address the board on any matter under the jurisdiction of the board, but not appearing on the agenda. The board will not take action on any item presented under public comment. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes. Anyone addressing the board is asked to print their name clearly on the speaker sheet at the podium and state their name and county of residence for the record. Do we have anybody that would like to provide public comment this morning?
None online.
Seeing none, we're going to move on to the consent calendar. All matters listed under the consent calendar are considered to be routine and will be enacted by one motion. Do we have anybody that would like to pull an item for further discussion this morning? Okay, seeing none, we'll look to the public for any public comment they may have on the consent calendar.
None online.
Seeing no public comment, we'll bring it back to the board for action.
Move to approve. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Wamhaugh?
Aye.
Supervisor Poitras?
Aye.
Supervisor Gonzalez?
Aye.
Chair McCauley?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Thank you for that. Let's move on to our discussion items. We'll start with item 8A.
Board of Supervisors Department, presentation recognizing the Madera County Economic Development Commission receiving the Award of Merit for Economic Development Innovation in Digital Media from the California Association of Local Economic Development.
It's the chair of the EDC.
There you go. Well, thank you very much, and great to see everybody here today. We've got a couple of great opportunities to recognize our EDC, and it's especially appropriate, I believe, for us because we're one of the agencies that the EDC works with our Joint Powers Authority. And so it's not only an honor for the EDC, but it's a great honor for the County of Madera as well as the 2 city jurisdictions. As our chair mentioned, I'm currently the chair of Madera EDC, and I'm proud to have that appointment from the Madera Chamber of Commerce. And so, and I'm joined on the board with Supervisor Wamhaugh. So today we have the great opportunity of recognizing our EDC for a wonderful award that they received from CalED, the California Association of Local Economic Development. And it is the Award of Merit for Economic Development Innovation in Digital Media. And so what this means is it's all this great marketing that goes out in the social media and other places. And we are being recognized, as well as our two city partners, for our economic growth and excellence. So with that, and this is an opportunity for our executive director to talk about some of the things that the EDC is doing for our county in terms of developing business. I'd like to introduce Christina Gallagher. Christina, come on up.
Well, we're honored to be recognized by the board today for receiving an award of excellence from the California Association for Local Economic Development in recognition of our Local Business Highlights initiative. This initiative was created as an idea from our MCEDC board to create a Shop Local campaign to promote and celebrate local businesses throughout Madera County by showcasing new business openings, expansions, milestones, and success stories throughout digital marketing and community outreach. The goal was to increase visibility for local businesses, encourage residents to shop local, support business growth, and raise awareness for the resources available through MCEDC. Through our social media, our website, and our monthly eBiz newsletter, we were able to highlight our local businesses who help drive Madera County's economy. The campaign not only strengthened community engagement, but also reinforced MCEDC's role as a resource and partner for local businesses. I would also like to recognize Elena Estrada, MCEDC's Business Development and Marketing Manager, whose efforts were instrumental to the success of this initiative. Elena was boots on the ground, meeting with business owners, capturing their stories, and helping showcase the impact of our local business economy and community. We are proud that this effort has been recognized by our association, and we appreciate the board's recognition today. This award reflects our hard work of our local businesses, of our local business community, and our continued commitment to support economic growth throughout Madera County. Thank you.
Elena, do you have any words you'd like to? Yeah.
Come on, Elena. Let's go, Elena.
Elena, go ahead. I know you want to talk.
It's been an honor to be able to work alongside Christina and her leadership, and her letting her really just allow me to explore and expand my creativity with, marketing Madera County as a whole, as well as its corresponding jurisdictions. So it's really been amazing just to be able to market Madera County, and this is the place I call home. So thank you also for your recognition, Board of Supervisors.
Great job.
Outstanding. And Christina, while you're here, first of all, don't go anywhere. Why don't you let everybody know about some of the recent statistics that have come out in regards to our housing growth in terms, and also the growth in our county in terms of population. I think that's pretty significant.
Yeah, so the Department of Finance just released their latest data for housing and population growth. Last year, we were the number one fastest growing county in terms of housing. This year, we're number 2, just behind Yuba County, but we're the fastest, by far, fastest growing unincorporated area in terms of housing units compared to any other unincorporated county. I think 3.7%. And by population growth, we're the 3rd fastest growing county by population in terms of percentage. And I believe that's right behind Placer County and Yuba County. This is incredible to say that we are one of the fastest growing counties in terms of both population and housing. So I'm really proud to represent this area.
Outstanding.
You put me on the spot a little bit, and I'm like, let me think about this.
And she came through. That was great. Well, and we need to keep that in context because we live in a state where the population has flatlined and is actually dropping in some counties and some communities. So the fact that we are growing, it tells you a lot. So there's this little place on 41, I don't know, what's it called? Riverstone, Tesoro, I don't know. There's a lot of the development going on up there, but it's a great thing. So with that, we do have a plaque that we'd like to present to our friends at the EDC. And so I'd like to ask all my colleagues to join me down here, as well as the entire staff of the EDC. That means you too, Lois, who we'll be talking about in a moment. So come on up.
While we're lining up, I just want to check, is there any public comment in the room or?
None online.
All right, seeing none.
I don't know if it's good.
All right, excellent. Thank you for that. Let's move to item 8B, please.
Board of Supervisors Department presentation recognizing Lois Leonard on her retirement from the Madera County Economic Development Commission and her 24 years of service to the community.
Very good. So this is the second half of our recognition of our EDC today. And today we're going to be recognizing truly a backbone of the organization over the last 24 years, the longest serving employee of the EDC in the history of the EDC. 24 years. The EDC has been around for 24 years. No, I'm teasing. It's been around a lot longer than that. But it's definitely fitting to think about the growth that we've had in our county over the last 24 years and even longer, and also recognize one of the key employees of the EDC, because you have to remember, the EDC, it consists of 3 people. So but they're really good people, and we've had some great executive directors over the years, and but also Lois has been with them all this time. So Lois, I'd like to have you join me here, and I'm going to say a few things about you, and they're all going to be nice.
Okay, good.
Yeah, exactly.
You know me too well.
Yeah. But yeah, Lois is just in so many ways just been it's almost like it's her funeral or something, her eulogy or something. I'm saying she is. So exactly, and a great member of our community and has done so much. She started her job, I believe it's April 2nd, 2002. I don't have my glasses on, but since that, she started off as I think like office assistant or something.
Office manager.
Office manager, but I think that was in 2012, right? You became.
2002 as office manager. Good. Oh, you have glasses on.
Okay, yes, office manager, and then you became the office manager business assistance manager. Okay, good. But in essence, it's all those things that the executive director didn't want to do. It was all the different programs and all the things that were really significant, like our loan committees and the Cal Cycle grants and things of that sort, that required somebody that was of high intelligence that could figure things out. And Darren, I'm not talking about you. But he understood these things. But she would just kind of fill in the gaps, like that. You've got the bricks and you've got the mortar. Well, she was the mortar to be able to kind of hold things together. And in addition to all the things she did at the EDC, she does and continues to do. She's a board member at the fair, and she's been doing that for how long?
Over 20.
Over 20 years. exactly. Sometimes the appointments are a little slow in getting reappointed, but she just sticks around. And by the way, what are some of the concerts coming up this year?
If you look at our Instagram account, you'll see they just announced yesterday who the concerts are at the Madera Fair. So,
There you go. I saw that. And so I think Clay Walker's going to be there?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, gotcha. And
Night Ranger.
Night Ranger, yes, yes. So there you go. Also, you have been the chair of the Madera Prayer Breakfast for 21 years. And so that's been a wonderful, successful thing. So thank you very much. I think you started as chair just like
Because you left.
because I left. I needed lots of prayer, but yeah, like 4 years after we started, you came in on chair, and then again, you've been involved in so many different organizations and the backbone of so many. So you're going to be greatly missed. And what I'd like to do is to have our current executive director come up and say a few words, and then I'm going to open the mic to you, and you can just say anything you want to say.
You love doing that, huh? And then anybody else who would like to also come up and say a few things that have worked with Lois for, for longer than I have. Lois has been an invaluable member of the Madera County EDC team for more than 2 decades. Although I have had the privilege of working with her for just under 2 years, I have quickly come to deeply value your professionalism and your institutional knowledge and commitment to serving our business community. Her contributions have played a significant role in the success of countless MCEDC programs and initiatives, and I especially appreciate the insight you shared with me when I first started, as well as how relatable you are and how easy you are to work with and talk to. On behalf of Madera County EDC, our commissioners, and many businesses that you have supported throughout your career, I extend our deepest gratitude. And you'll be greatly missed by our office, but I'm glad that you're just a phone call away.
Thank you.
Very good. Now, Lois, go for it.
I wish I had been told I could say something, so this is off the cuff, but being the chair of the National Day of Prayer, you think I would just be able to just come right out and say something. First of all, thank you, God, for 24 years.
Allergies.
Yeah, allergies. Because without him, I would have never survived all the life challenges. All those 24 years, and those of you who know me know of those challenges. I thank you, everyone who supported me and has understood me and acknowledged my knowledge, and those that are here today supporting me. My husband can't be because he's at a doctor's appointment, but it's okay. As far as fair goes, I'm still going to continue to be on the fair board, so I know many community members get tickets, and I haven't forgotten you. Just give me your email and your phone number. And, the CEO of the fair is here today. Thank you. And the National Day of Prayer, I would continue supporting the community with the National Day of Prayer, because I feel like that's a ministry to me for the community. So thank you very much for being here today. And I'm not going to be far away, so thank you.
Thank you, Lois.
Exactly. We know where you live. Yes. I will open up this time for anybody like to say a few words about Lois. I know she's got a lot of friends. She's got, people from the fair, former executive directors, her workout partner, people like that. So if you'd like to say a few words, that's great. Otherwise, we've got a proclamation for her.
Sure. And I want to look to
here
the
comes
colleagues
Deb.
on the board real quick and see if there's anything they wanted to share real quick.
Yeah, if you don't mind, Mr.
We'll
Chair.
start with Supervisor Gonzalez, and we'll move down to Supervisor Rogers.
Lois, I just want to congratulate you. It's been such a pleasure working with you. I met you long ago when I first started working for the county, and you were always a wealth of knowledge and a wonderful resource to us. And then again, just everything that you do in the community, we see it, we appreciate it. I'm excited that you are now retiring and you have some more time to volunteer. So we will definitely be reaching out. But I wish you a wonderful retirement and whatever you choose to do. And you get to spend a lot of time with Liliana, your granddaughter.
Yeah, Lois, mic on. Appreciate your friendship through the years and your prowess, your abilities that you've given. My journey with the EDC began 37 years ago, and back when Ron Flores was the president of the association, and worked with the city of Chowchilla all that time, and city of Madera, the industrial association, all of those organizations. It was very important, still is. And all through those years, I know you were doing a lot of different things, and still are. Still are. And really appreciate you and Chris, and just hope you have a continued great life together, and all of the things that are good come your way, because you deserve it. You've worked very hard. You know, when somebody works as hard as you do, and obviously it's an emotional thing for you, and it should be, because you've put your heart into what you've done. And when you do that, it becomes emotional, no doubt about it. And thank you for your friendship and for what you've done.
Excellent. Thank you for those comments.
Yeah, I'd just like to say it's been a pleasure working with you, being on the Madera EDC board, and you know, always coming through to, you know, make sure we have that spot to have a quorum, the constant battle. But you know, being there that long, you have become an institution, and it's one of those things that's just extremely hard to fill a position like yours. You don't know what you got until it's gone, and when you're gone, they're going to feel it, because you know, it's not everything that's written down in a big binder on the shelf. It's with you, and so it's been a pleasure.
Excellent comments. Lois, I just want to say thank you for being, you know, a bright spot of kindness. You know, I think when I got here at the county, you know, working with the EDC, it was always comforting to know that there was somebody there with a smile on the other end of the phone. So just thank you for being you. So unless there's any additional comments, we're going to...
I think we have Debbie Bray.
Excellent.
She's got something she'd like to talk about.
And of course, if anybody from the public would like to make some public comment, please do so, line up in orderly fashion.
So should Lois come up?
Yes, let's have her come up. Well, I have had the pleasure of working with this wonderful woman for the last 24 years. And you know, when you work with somebody, you can't help but become also friends with them. And so we have had a great friendship and also professional relationship. And from woman to woman, I'm really proud of the quiet leadership she has provided. She may not be considered in her workplace as the leader in that workplace, but we do know that she's been a tie that binds and has provided that leadership in the background. And I truly appreciate all that she has done. One of the things that probably has stood out the most is that during COVID, she was adamant and dedicated and committed and had her whole heart into working with our small businesses and making sure that they got the financial support that they needed. But she just didn't give financial support. She gave them her personal support because it was a tough time. And I think a lot of those businesses are grateful to her and will always remember her dedication to them and making sure that they succeeded through a very tough time for all of us. Unfortunately, she and I were somewhat competing on giving grants out to these businesses, but because we have such a great working relationship, we would actually share each other's lists to make sure that those monies really got spread across the community. The other thing that I'm really proud of her for is, like she said, we've all had our ups and downs in life. And she has always persevered. She raised two beautiful children and now has a granddaughter. This is going to give you more time to go to Detroit and spend some time with that precious child. And since your son's a pilot, it makes it very affordable. But I absolutely have a great deal of respect for Lois. I won't miss her because she is going to continue being active, but I will miss her chit-chats that we have off and on throughout the week. But I know I can still do that. But now you have You can go on more motorcycle rides.
Yeah.
You can do more camping. And you're more than welcome to invite me.
Okay.
So on that note, I'd just like to present this gift from me to you and wish you the best and that your time is filled with love and joy.
Okay, and with that, who else keeps trying to sit down? Okay, we're going to have a picture here, so I'd like to ask some of my colleagues to join me and anybody else who would like to join us for this great picture. So come on over and join us.
There we go.
Got it.
Excellent. Thank you for that, and appreciate you taking us through that, Supervisor Poitras. Let's move to item 8C.
County Council Department, discussion and consideration to adopt a Madera County Board of Supervisors meeting telephonic and internet service disruption policy effective July 1st, 2026 through January 1st, 2030, unless extended or repealed pursuant to Government Code Section 54953.4 SB 707.
Thank you.
Good morning, Chair, members of the board, Regina Garza, County Council. I'm happy to present to you a proposed policy that's required under the law. It's not included and incorporated into your board rules strategically. If there are any amendments needed or if we want to pull them into the rules at a later date, I'm happy to present that to the board. So Senate Bill 707 was signed into law, and the purpose of me being here today is to comply with the part of the law that requires this board, you're an eligible legislative body. Not all Brown Act bodies are eligible. You are based on your role. For example, you will not see this new policy adopted at our local school districts because they don't meet eligible body requirements currently. So what the law requires is for this board to put into policy the practice that they will take if there's a disruption. So previously, your county, for a very long time, has provided a video, audio-visual link to attend the board meetings. That hasn't been required by the law, but this county has done it for almost a decade or more. Now the law requires this type of hybrid meeting, and if there's a disruption, we have to have a policy in terms of how this board is going to handle that tech disruption. You'll see on the proposed policy, it discusses telephonic attendance. We've really moved away from that as long as I can remember, but there was a time when you'd have staff upstairs alerting down here that somebody wants to speak. we've moved more towards the function of what's on your agenda is a Zoom link, and that is where the public gets information to participate. What the county also does is allows a few other audio-visual platforms. eScribe internally is used by a lot of county employees to watch your board meeting. We also have YouTube that streams it also. However, the Zoom link is where the public can participate and when the clerk of the board and her team are managing those attendees. If there's a disruption, the proposed policy sets forth the following as a potential policy to follow. Clerk of the board is named as managing this entire process of remote participation for this board. In the policy, it sets forth that she will alert the chair if there's a disruption on the Zoom platform. If there's a disruption, the policy proposes that we take a recess. At that recess, the law allows for the board to go back into closed session. And while the team, there's specific reasons or methods that they will take to resolve the disruption in here, normal process that we see occur occasionally. When the disruption is restored, you can end the recess. The clerk of the board will alert you to say, folks can hear again, it's been restored, and the chair can reconvene the meeting. The part of the law also says that you have an hour to try to restore it. And if you can't within an hour, you have an option of a couple of things. Number one, you can you can adjourn the entire meeting, and the clerk's office will post that adjournment of the meeting. Or your board can vote, and there's some sample language in the policy that says we've made every effort to restore service. We've done X, Y, Z, but by a motion from this board, we feel like reconvening the meeting, even with the tech problem, outweighs the remote participation. And if you vote and approve that, then we can continue despite the tech disruption. So that is the policy being proposed. If that occurs, of course, it'll be recorded in the minutes, and the actions that we're taking to restore those efforts will also be recorded in those minutes. But that's my recommendation to this board in terms of a policy for this board to handle now the requirements of a hybrid meeting and what happens if those services, those internet services are disrupted. I will just say, what is a disruption before I wrap this up for you, board? A disruption occurs when the public is unable to both observe and hear. Like I mentioned, the clerk of the board is designated as determining that, alerts the board to convene a recess or call for a recess. We can go into closed session or just wait as good faith efforts are made to restore the service. And you can reconvene once the telephonic service has been restored, or after an hour if you call for a vote and decide not to adjourn the meeting but to continue. That is the proposed policy. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for the presentation, Council. I'll look to my colleagues to see if there's any questions in regard to this policy.
Regina, does this carry over to like Planning Commission, Civil Service? Is it just for the board?
It's just at this time for the board. There's no other eligible legislative body, so no, your Planning Commission. It's specific to county boards of supervisors and other. There are some areas in the law that, or the new law that talks about subsidiary bodies, but that's like a student council type so no, at this time, this policy only applies to your board, not your additional Brown Act bodies that help this county.
Okay, thank you.
Any additional questions or comments? All right, seeing none, we'll look to the public for any public comment they may have online or in the room.
None online.
Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the board for action.
I'm going to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Gonzalez.
Aye.
Supervisor Wamhaugh.
Aye.
Supervisor Rogers.
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras.
Aye.
Chair McCauley.
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Board.
Council. With that, we're going to move on to our public hearing, item 9A.
Auditor Controller Department, hearing to consider adoption of a resolution approving the property tax administration costs and fees for fiscal year 2025-2026.
There you go. Good morning, Chair McCauley, board members, our CEO, council, and board clerk. What we have before you is a hearing to consider adoption of the resolution attached to approve the property tax administration costs and fees for fiscal year 25-26. As mentioned at the June 2nd meeting and included in the package, the total property tax administration fee costs are a little over $5.1 million. Once we back out the non-chargeable costs, what's left is $787,726, which we would reimburse back to the assessor's office, approximately $625,000, to the auditor controller's office, approximately $42,000, and the tax collector, $119,000. So with that, I'm available for any questions and seeking your approval.
Thank you, Mr. Auditor. I'll look to my colleagues. Well, we're going to open the public hearing in just a moment, but before we do, I want to look to my colleagues for any comments, questions they may have. Seeing none, we'll open the public hearing, and we'll look to the public for any public comment in the room or online.
None online.
Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing, and we'll bring it back to the board for action.
Move to approve the.
Second.
All right, motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras?
Aye.
Supervisor Wamha?
Aye.
Supervisor Gonzalez?
Aye.
Chair McCauley?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. Let's move to item 8D, and I'd like to invite Mario Pena with the Regional Director of the Alzheimer's Association for the Northern Chapter up.
Board of Supervisors Department, presentation of a proclamation recognizing Alzheimer's Brain Awareness Month, June 2026.
Excellent. Good morning. Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board, CEO, and county council, as well as our department heads and all staff and constituents of Madera County. My name is Mario Pena, Regional Director for the Alzheimer's Association for the Fresno region. And on behalf of our organization, I want to thank you for recognizing June as Alzheimer's and Brain Awareness Month and for presenting this proclamation today. I'm also joined with our advocate and volunteer, Bob Gray, and we are extremely honored to accept this proclamation on behalf of the many families, caregivers, healthcare professionals, and advocates who are working every day to support individuals affected by Alzheimer's and other forms of dementia. To give some stats, more than 7 million of Americans are currently living with Alzheimer's disease, and more than 12 million family members and friends provide unpaid care. But in the local area, we have here in the state of California nearly 719,000 individuals aged 65 and older are living with Alzheimer's disease. More than 1.4 million caregivers provide approximately 1.9 billion hours of unpaid care each year. Alzheimer's is more than a memory loss. It is a disease that affects families, friends, caregivers, workplace, and communities entirely. Today, countless caregivers dedicate their time, energy, and love to supporting someone living with the disease. This proclamation helps shine a light on their efforts and remind those affected that they are not alone. Alzheimer's Brain Awareness Month is an opportunity for all of us to learn about the warning signs of Alzheimer's, prioritize brain health, support caregivers, and advance the conversation around research and treatment. While we have made tremendous progress in recent years, there is still much work to be done. We encourage everyone to wear purple this month. I see, thank you, Supervisor Gonzalez, and I also see Supervisor Rogers that there's some purple there, so thank you so much for your support. As well as learn more about brain health and join us in the fight to end this condition. Together through awareness, advocacy, care, research, we can move closer to a world without Alzheimer's and other forms of dementia. Lastly, before I call our advocate and volunteer, Mr. Gray, We have a 24/7 helpline that's available, and that is staffed by our master level of clinicians available to help in more than 170 languages. And that number is 1-800-272-3900. And I encourage many here in Madera County to join us at this year's Walk to End Alzheimer's event that's scheduled to be on Saturday, October 17th, that represents both Madera County and Fresno County, and that's going to be at Woodward Park in Fresno. This event aims to raise critical funds for dementia research and provide local care programs while uniting communities to build awareness and honor those affected by this disease. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and call up Mr. Gray to share his story and what he has done tremendously, not just on the local level, but he has also traveled to Sacramento as well as to Washington, D.C. to communicate with many legislative with specific bills that has made a tremendous difference. And with that, I'll turn it over to you, Mr. Gray.
Thank you, Mario, and thank you for allowing me to speak. My wife was diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's 14 years ago. And this Sunday, we will have been married 40 years. So for the last 12% of our lives, we have shared our journey with Alzheimer's. She is now in stage 7 out of 7. She doesn't have any language. She's aphasic, can't form words. She can't dress herself. She can dress herself, but I wouldn't recognize her. She can't feed herself. She is presently in a 10-bed home in Fresno. But we were both special ed teachers. I was an adaptive PE teacher in Fresno Unified, and she was a resource specialist, meaning she worked with kids with word processing problems, which is what she has now. And so I tell people I've been preparing for this all my life. When the diagnosis came, I didn't get angry. You know, we sat down and we talked about it, and I decided I would not let it run our lives. And I took a real positive attitude towards it, and ended up embracing every moment with her. For the first 8 years, I took care of her at home. Then I also coach at a local middle school, cross country and track. And when I was gone, I had an in-home service come in and do it. And then I had a health issue, and I had to place her in a memory care center, 60-bed. That for 3.5 years. And then that worked until it didn't work. And then I placed her in a 10-bed home in Fresno, and that has worked out great. Like I said, she doesn't speak, and people will say, does she recognize you? And I said, when I walk in the room, she goes. So yes, she does recognize me, you know. And what this disease has given us and given me is a passion for making my wife's journey other people's stories. The Alzheimer's Association, I never knew about the Alzheimer's Association until about 6 years ago as I was driving by the building. I said, well, I'll just drop in and see what's going on. And they gave me all this information. I threw it in the back of the car, never to be seen again. 2 months later, I was at the end of the rope running out of gas, and I dropped by it again. They said, come to a support group meeting tomorrow. I said, sure, I'll show up for 15 minutes, you know. What do I need from a support group meeting? And I went in, there an hour and a half, and I sat down with these 6 or 7 other people and a facilitator, and they all told their stories, and they were very honest and raw. That was 6 years ago. I've missed 2 meetings in 6 years, you know. So, you know, I knew I shouldn't have said I wasn't going to go, but, you know, that's God's plan on that. The progress in Alzheimer's, in detecting it and analyzing it, they have a blood test you can take as early as in your 20s, and that will tell you if you have markers for Alzheimer's in the future. The importance of this is that the earlier it's diagnosed, when you're able to converse and maybe have word retrieval problems, the more the family can accept it. What happens in meetings is you'll hear kids, grandkids going, what's happening to grandpa? What's happening to grandma? Or daughters and sons saying, I don't know what's happening to my family. But if they're able to sit down and sit with their grandkids and say, in 5 years, 10 years, I may not know who you are, but always know I love you, which is the important part, you know. So what you want to do, and thank you for this proclamation, is you want education and let people know. You know, everybody knows somebody who has Alzheimer's somewhere down the line, you know. It can be a terrible disease. I look upon it as giving me a passion in life, So thank you very much.
Mario, thank you for being here today, and Mr. Gray, thank you for your advocacy, and thank you for sharing your story with us. Would anybody on the board have any words they'd like to share? Or? Yes, sir.
Yeah, I appreciate your story. Thank you. It touches our hearts. One of the most painful things, I think, when someone you love has Alzheimer's is when they don't know who you are and you don't understand why. Like you said, if you are educated about it and you understand that part of them is still there, but it's hidden from them, and they don't even know what they're really doing. And some people become different people altogether, and I had to tell my mother when her husband developed dementia, and he became a different man. And I said, he's still the same person, he just doesn't know it. I said, he's like a kid that is learning life all over again, trying to, and it's a tough thing to navigate.
It is very tough, and the thing is, I believe they know who you are.
Yeah.
It's just that there's so many things going on,
right?
You know, and coming through. And like I said, my wife, I sit with her for 2 hours twice a day, you know, and she smiles and laughs, and I smile and laugh, right. And it's the best part of my day.
Right.
You know, although we communicate through expressions, you know, crazy things, but it's it boils life down to what is really important. You know, and treating people with decency,
yes,
and honor, and not making them feel invisible is the important part.
Absolutely, their value hasn't gone away at all.
No, it's doubled.
Yeah, and we just how we treat the most vulnerable members of our society really says a lot about who we are.
Yeah, 100%.
Appreciate your story. Thank you.
Thanks for your comments, Supervisor. So we do have a proclamation, Mr. Gray, Mario. I'd love it if we can gather up and take a little picture. And while we gather up, I just want to provide an opportunity for the public to make any public comment if they do have any.
None online.
All right, we're going to move on to item 8E, please.
Behavioral Health Services Department, Behavioral Health Services Act. Three-year plan, discussion and consideration of approval to adopt the Madera County Behavioral Health Services Act, three-year integration plan for fiscal year 2026 through 2029. Discussion and consideration of approval to authorize the Director of Behavioral Health Services to submit the approved plan and required local certifications to the California Department of Health Healthcare Services.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Chair and members of the board. This is my first time doing a presentation up here, so I'm going to try to. Do I need to do anything? What do I do to make? There we go. Okay. All right. Good morning. I'm Nikki Matus, Director of Behavioral Health Services for Madera County, and I'm here today to present on the Behavioral Health Services Act. It passed on March 5th, 2024. Proposition 1 is a voter-backed initiative designed to strengthen our local community by expanding access to essential behavioral health services by modernizing state funding and launching a $6.4 billion bond. It would build critical treatment facilities to provide supportive housing for vulnerable residents, including veterans and individuals facing homelessness. Sorry. Prop 1 modernizes how behavioral health dollars are spent to give counties more flexibility in meeting local needs. It systematically integrates behavioral health care with primary care, schools, and community partners to catch issues early and eases service transitions. It also ensures success by bringing the community directly into the planning process while enforcing strict state and county accountability. The BHSA three-year integrated plan combines all local, state, and federal health funding into one budget to maximize community support. To ensure a balanced approach, this money is divided into three categories: 30% for housing interventions, 35% for full service partnerships, and 35% for behavioral health services and support. By designating these percentages, we align local care directly with state standards to effectively track results, expand our workforce, and make sure no one is left behind. Housing intervention dollars must be managed to prioritize long-term stability. Under state fiscal policies, counties can adjust their housing budgets by transferring up to 7% or up to 14% into housing via their integrated plan. Any leftover legacy dollars must immediately adapt to these rigid state definitions, ensuring every available dollar goes directly toward permanent community placements. Full service partnerships, which must follow state guidelines for care levels and staff to patient ratios. Programs are required to use proven, state-approved, evidence-based practices while providing immediate field access to addiction medication and substance use treatment. The policy strictly prohibits blending these funds into general mental health budgets, keeping the money allocated where it is needed most. Behavioral health services and supports ensures funds never overlap with housing or full service partnership programs. It explicitly allocates over half of all early intervention dollars for youth aged 25 and under, while moving outreach efforts away from passive marketing to active field-based recruitment. Lastly, the workforce funding is allocated for recruitment and retention efforts. Madera County's plan is to exercise its legal right to shift up to 14% of funding between components to meet our community's urgent clinical needs. We are requesting to reallocate a portion of housing funds into full service partnerships and behavioral health services and supports to protect our 24/7 crisis stabilization care and instantly expand clinical staffing, outpatient clinical staffing. To ensure no one is left behind, Madera County will bridge the housing gap by leveraging existing local programs and alternative state grants. The BHSA funding is highly volatile and generally follows the stock market and the annual income tax of billionaires and millionaires residing in California. Funding is based on only approximately 30,000 tax returns of individuals in this income bracket. We are ramping up capacity to meet evidence-based practices and BH Connect to reach Medi-Cal funding targets. We will utilize unspent reserve fundings to offset any revenue shortfalls in years 1, 2, and 3. BHSA funding allocation represents 25% of total BHS funding, and this plan does not have budget impact to general funds. Other housing considerations, we are leveraging several housing projects with self-help enterprises under the No Place Like Home program and designated units reserved for behavioral health clients. To ensure ongoing stability and support, we will utilize both rental subsidies and operating subsidies. Let me get that out. In addition, we have behavioral health bridge housing units available for BHS clients. We will also leverage managed care plan transitional rent to further support client access to safe and sustainable housing. We are requesting to transfer housing intervention funds into the full service partnership and behavioral health services and supports categories because current FSP and BHSS allocations are not sufficient to meet the level of need among our clients. Additional funding is necessary to ensure we can deliver comprehensive, timely, and effective services that support housing stability and overall behavioral health outcomes. Looking ahead, our immediate next step is delivering the finalized 3-year integrated plan to the state before the June 30, 2026 deadline. Moving forward into this next phase, we will focus heavily on developing clear performance measure outcomes to continuously track and monitor our program's impact. This ensures all services meet strict state benchmarks, remain fully accessible regardless of insurance, and deliver real measurable results to our community.
Excellent. Thank you, Nikki. I'm going to look to my colleagues for any questions, comments they may have in regards to this presentation.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Nikki, for the presentation. As we look at these long-term plans regarding behavioral health or whatever department we're looking at, I always like to focus on how is this actually meeting the needs of everyday Madera residents, Madera County residents. Typically, when we think of behavioral health, we're thinking of homeless, we're thinking of substance abuse and all these other types of things. Now, I think that we recently did a point-in-time count for homeless in our area. So practically, and we're talking about being able to measure our success, so practically, how can we measure success when it comes to specifically homeless people or those experiencing addiction and behavioral crisis for those that are currently living out on the street?
So I'm going to have Rosie come up and assist with that. She's been leading the BHSA and is the...
And I say that, and I'll preface it because, we typically see gaps in the system because we have, homeless people all over the street, and we spend hundreds of millions of dollars on programs to help many times these very same individuals, and a lot of people think, what is being done? Why are we still having the problems that we're having? And it's very frustrating, on the law enforcement side as well, because, a large portion of the calls for service are made up, from this percentage of the population, and we have all of these services to help them, but there's a gap in getting them there and getting them the resources they need, not just the resources they need, but, solving addiction problems and mental health concerns. So how can we measure success in terms of continuity from a time a social worker is out on the street with them or a deputy or police officer is out on the street with them to getting them into the system and off the street?
Yeah, so good morning, everyone. My name is Maria Barragán. I'm a division manager at Behavioral Health Services, and I'm the lead for our BHSA plan for Madera County. Just to start off, some of the programs that we're going to be implementing are very specific for us to target the unhoused. So one of the programs is our assertive mobile field-based program that conducts street outreach we would be building a multidisciplinary team to go out to the embankments, to partner with the rescue mission, to partner with organizations to reach those that need our services. So that's one program that we are launching. It's currently in the planning phases. It's going to be three different components that we need to meet. The first component is for us to conduct data analysis to identify geographical areas to target with this mobile outreach team. The second component is open clinic for us to partner with organizations like a health provider to come out with us to provide wound care, vaccinations, STD testing. The third component is to partner with organizations that can provide direct services for those that have substance use disorders. We understand that it is sometimes hard for somebody to determine they want to get services. So this mobile outreach team will be deployed to engage those that need services, go out and build rapport. Part of this team will include a peer support specialist that has lived experience to try to engage those that need services into services. The other component that we're launching specific to housing is a housing team that is, again, going to be going out with this multidisciplinary team to try to get those that are unhoused into housing. So one of the things that we do know is that housing is an immediate need. So we are going to be, we're required to allocate 50% of our housing initiatives to focus those that are unhoused.
So forgive me, I have a lot of problems with a lot of those things because in practice, they just don't work. And we talk about unhoused, but we're talking about people with severe behavioral issues and substance use issues, and we consider it a housing problem. Well, we have plenty of circumstances where we have beds, we have places for them to go, but they still bring their drug addiction and their 4 shopping carts full of stuff into wherever they're trying to sleep, and we're not treating the real problem. We're treating it like like they don't have an actual place to sleep problem when it's really an addiction problem and a behavioral and a mental health problem. And we're talking about we're going to do all these studies and get geographical data. I mean, Madera's not that big. We can tell where the homeless people are. Gathering data. We can go over to Tozier. We can do all the things. It doesn't require all that data. And we're going to do in-the-field wound care, vaccine, and STD testing. It almost feels like trap and release. And I do have a problem with this because we need to get these people off the street. We need a real plan that gives the people that are on the street the tools and ability to get these people off the street. Not just meet them where they are in the field, to give them vaccines, clean up their wounds, and send them back out into the canal.
Yeah.
And it's very frustrating because we spend hundreds of millions of dollars. Granted, they're state funds, and the state legislators allocate these funds for these purposes. And it's very nice to come up with these plans as far as gathering data and mobile units, and we have housing people, but I don't feel like this meets the actual need. I feel like this is the same type of stuff that we do continuously over and over while we still have streets that are completely filled with drug-addicted, mentally ill, homeless people. And I feel like this is going to be a continuation of that.
It is a difficult process to get people involved, motivated to participate in treatment. And so we do have to focus a lot on engagement and building relationships with people so that there's a trust and that they want to engage in the services that we have. And those are discussions that we are having about how do we best engage from the front and from the front door to those that are out in the field, because it is about building community and trust with people. And while the state has a lot of mandates for us to meet, still at the heart of that is going to be in engaging the community and getting them there to the service and wanting them to stay. And that is a multidisciplinary team process because we're going to need help from all organizations. We will provide the service, but we're going to need support also from the community in order for us to meet that need. And I understand your frustration, and I don't know that there's any county that has the answer to that yet, but I know that we have a team of people that are absolutely working on that, on how we can meet Madera County's needs and to lessen what we're seeing out there right now. So we appreciate your concerns and understand them, and definitely it is a focus. And we will continue to try to meet that need and provide information on how we're doing that beyond the data that, the data is necessary for the money to come in for us to provide the services. But again, at the heart of that is us building community and trust and getting people into service.
See, and it's great to build, trust within the community so they trust you and they want to move forward. But, it's carrot or the stick. We used to have Prop 47 where drugs used to be illegal. And if you went to jail and, you went before a judge, you could get treatment or a felony conviction. And if you didn't complete the treatment program, you got a felony conviction. And now we have absolutely no teeth because drugs are decriminalized in California. To get people, force people into the treatment that they so desperately need. And the other option are 5150s for our law enforcement out in the field. So we encounter homeless, mentally ill, drug-addicted people who are a danger to themselves or others are gravely disabled, and we put them on a 5150 hold. They go, and after, of course, they're Medi-Cal, so after 6.5 hours, they boot them out the front door with scrubs on, and they're back on the street. And, so how can we meet those people where they are after they are in the system in order to make sure that they're getting the help that they need, whether or not they believe they need the help or not?
Yeah. It's difficult. I've worked in addiction for treatment for many years now, 15 explicitly at one place where I worked with people who are in and out, inpatient and outpatient, and people coming back, and for me, how I seen progress made was that building community and the trust, and getting them even a little one service, and having a partnership with the medical team that we worked with, right, and making sure that they're getting the medications, the medication-assisted treatment they need right away, and just be fully engaged in that. And I think we've built up, we've really, built up a good team, have a lot of clinicians now that are going to be able to support those types of services, and building relationships with our partners to be where they're at and make sure that those things are happening. But it will be a process, and I understand your frustration. There are things that are competing factors, and sometimes create a barrier for us to be able to do something. But I'll find the workaround. We'll continue to try to make that happen and improve what we're seeing here in Madera.
Yeah, just, a lot of people need to be on conservatorship, and they're not.
Yeah.
We need to be pushing for these types of things to get these mentally ill, severely mentally ill, drug-addicted people from walking around town all day, all night, without shoes on the asphalt, haven't eaten in days, don't even know where their water is, they don't even know that they're thirsty. I mean, we are not doing any justice, and it is not compassionate what we are doing right now. And I want to make sure that we have a plan that gets these people off the street and make sure that they get the services that they so desperately need. And I just don't know that this plan, like I said, for me, it's the flowery things of, we're going to gather data. We're going to meet them in the field for vaccines and wound care and, pat on the head and back out on the street. These types of things just really bother me, and I'm sorry if I'm taking it out on you. It's just, I want to see homeless people off our street.
Yeah.
And I want them to get the care that they so desperately need, whether they know it or not.
Right.
And it's not compassionate what we're doing. And it's up to us as leaders of this community to making sure that we are wisely spending taxpayer dollars, regardless of whether they're state funds or not. They're still taxpayer dollars that they are being spent to get the people off the street and for us to be the compassionate ones, because that is not compassion what we're showing.
Yeah.
I'm going to jump in here really quick, and I do appreciate and agree with most of your comments, but I just kind of want to draw back to this proposal and particularly the funding shifts that are being recommended here. I think they're very much in line with a lot of the comments you're making. You know, I think you're speaking to a lot of the limitations that are put forth by the state and, you know, our team's ability to, you know, not necessarily force treatment, but, you know, create very limited options for people, whether it's you want to go to jail or you want treatment, I think, which is what you're speaking to. And those limitations, again, you know, are set forth by the state largely. So when I look at this proposal, I think, you know, what we're doing here is we're working on being more responsive. We're working to address gaps in the system. So, you know, my personal experience was, you know, when a loved one needed care, when they were ready for treatment, that treatment was not available to them. They were told they had to come back in a week. And so if this treatment can help address, or this proposal can help address those gaps in the system, I think that's a step in the right direction. Supervisor, I think you're absolutely right. I think we need to continue to advocate for, you know, better policies at the state level that give our DA and our sheriff's office, you know, more tools to deal with these folks. Of course, if there's things we can do here internally, fully supportive of that. So thank you for your comments. I want to open it up for the rest of the board. Supervisor Rogers.
Yeah, I recently listened to some comments on homeless industrial complex. And what I mean by that statement is that it's an industry for some people. And I'm going to be a little more scrutinizing in the future where some of these NGOs and organizations that in the past that have been done business with, I'm going to be a little more scrutinizing in the future of this kind of thing because of what I've learned about the revolving door and the issue. And I think my colleague is exactly right, and I share his frustration because I have literally in my 16 years on this board had thousands of interactions with homeless people. And and pardon me if I get generalizing when I say this. I don't think everybody falls into the same category all the time, but I think it's a big percentage. And I want to say that in my interactions, 90% of them have been drug addicted and seeking their next fix and unwilling to accept help. Those that weren't, I think they've found help and have been able to get the help out. And when we say evidence-based, I think the evidence is pretty clear that what we've been doing as a state of California is definitely not working because we have a bigger problem in this state than other states have. And there are states where they don't have this issue. I know my son is a police officer in the state of Idaho, and I asked him about homelessness, and he's in a metropolitan area, the biggest metropolitan area, Boise, Meridian, Napa area. And he said, we do have homeless people, but it's very minimal. And it's due to drug addiction. And when they're arrested for drugs, they have laws that deal with that, like my colleague pointed out. And I only say this to, we're kind of repeating ourselves here, but I think it needs to be emphasized that we understand one of the problems is that the laws we have are not being enforced. I think our DA recently worked very hard on a proposition that would curb this very thing, but it's being ignored by the state of California. Now, what can we enforce that law? Can we here enforce that law? Can we put our efforts and energies into enforcing that law? I think so. It's a law. Whether or not the state of California wants to fund it, We need to enforce it because it's really about evidence, right? It's really about evidence. And I said all that to say this. I would like to see a little more emphasis in intervention. And one of the reasons I say that is the evidence is that there are markers in youth, and we know what they are. We know what happens with young people. We know what they are, and one of the markers is truancy. Another marker is having parents who have been addicted or are addicted. That's a marker. And when we know these kids are in these kind of homes, we need to focus in on intervention somehow. If it's necessary, we remove those children from that home, because that is a definite problem when we're affecting another generation. We're creating another generation of this circumstance down the line. So I'd like to see a little more energy put into the intervention side, into the truancy, the after-school intervention type programs where these kids are being tutored in their classes, where they find an interest. Somehow they find an interest in their classes through some kind of activity or an intervention. And we know what they are. I'm not involved in that directly. My son is, my wife is. She's a director of children's ministries. My son was a youth director for many, many years, and he talked about this kind of stuff. So I'm very well aware of what kids go through and what they need. And what they need are good role models, and they need people who are there in their lives. They need guidance every minute of the day. They don't need to be abandoned to their own wills. So intervention is really a big deal for me. Yeah, I don't know what your comments are.
And I would just say that I think this proposal shifts, again, $2 million out of $4 million away from housing into, programs that support intervention,
Right.
warm handoffs, things of these nature. So I, again, appreciate the proposal.
Yeah, I was just going to comment that we are focusing on early interventions. With Proposition 1, the budget categories did shift. Our prevention dollars are now being administered at the state level. With that being said, local behavioral health departments are required to focus on early interventions. Some of the things that we are funding through our BHSA plan is partnerships with various school districts to implement various early interventions. So we are going to partner with Chewoniki Unified, Yosemite Unified, and Golden Valley Unified. And then we're also working with a community-based organization to work with Madera Unified School District to implement these early interventions, because we do know the importance of identifying students that are high risk, linking them to treatment early on to mitigate their behavioral health conditions.
Yeah, my wife sits on she's a trustee for the elementary school district, and it's shocking to me, she shares with me how many students over and over again we're talking from middle school, that they're dealing with, who have brought marijuana for sale. They're dealing drugs at school. These are middle schoolers, or smoking it, or other things, among other things. These are serious things. Anyway, I appreciate that comment. And, that's where the dollars need to be spent, probably more than any other.
Excellent. At this time, I want to look to the public for any public comment they may have in the room or online.
None online.
I'll move to approve.
Got a motion? Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Gonzalez.
Aye.
Supervisor Wamha.
Aye.
Supervisor Rogers.
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras.
Aye.
Chair McCulley.
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Thank you. Let's look to item
Thank you.
8F, please. Don't go too far.
Be Behavioral Health Services Department, discussion and consideration of approval of a receipt of unanticipated revenue number 25-132 in the amount of $1,747,060 derived from Mental Health Services Act Fund, excuse me, Capital Funds -ST-BHS Prop 63 MHSA to land for fiscal year 2025-2026. 4 votes are required.
Good morning.
Hi, Randall Ridenauer, Deputy Director, Administrative Services, Fiscal Matters at BHS. This budget action that's before the board will allow us to get the money in the proper category to execute the payment for the 117 R Street property, which we bought, our Children's Center building. It was previously approved on April 7th. The board approved a purchase agreement under item 015605. This is just to do the accounting process on the backside to move the money into the proper category and to have the expenditure made in the fixed assets category. So that's before your board for your consideration. A comment that we would have paid within less than 10 years, we would have paid the same amount for renting that property. It's a very useful property. It has a high amount of traffic. It's favored with the clients. So I think this is a very good idea. This is mostly just to get the budget moved in the proper spot. We have the money in unspent funds, on reserve, in the trust fund. But we need to get that $1.7 million in the proper categories to make the expenditure.
Excellent. Thank you. Any questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, we'll look to the public.
None online.
Bring it back to the board for
Move for approval. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Can we please have a roll call vote?
Supervisor Poitras.
Aye.
Supervisor Wamha.
Aye.
Supervisor Rogers.
Yes.
Supervisor Gonzalez.
Aye.
Chair McCauley.
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Thank you. Let's move to item 8G, please.
County Administration Department, General Services Division, Madera County Investment Grade Audit. Presentation of the results of the investment grade audit conducted by Southland Industries, Staff recommendation on prioritization of the projects identified in the IGA. Discussion and direction to staff on the method of deliveries of project recommendation in the IGA. Option 1, sole source agreement with Southland Industries pursuant to Government Code 4217, which allows public agencies to enter into energy conservation contracts without a formal bidding process under certain conditions and requirements. Option 2, issue a request for proposal for priority projects identified in the IGA.
Good morning, Joel.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board, Joel Begay, County Administrative Office. I'm going to hand it over immediately to our partners from Southland so that they can present the findings of the investment grade audit that they conducted for the county.
Good morning.
Good morning, Chair and Board. My name's Des House. I'm with Southland Industries, and I'm here to present on our reportings from our IGA. So we're just going to go over a little bit of our value proposition, some milestones that we would go under the IGA, some scoping and financial overview. So overall, I know there's a more in-depth, the entire IGA is in your board packet, but for the sake of not having 2,000 slides, we're just going to go overall the comprehensive benefits of the energy project. So we did identify that there is a definite need for some countywide HVAC modernization, as well as some new solar and maximizing on existing solar, reducing your energy cost, and of course, we as Southland will always use local contractors as our implementers. So a little bit of how we got here. You know, we did our IGA in about November, 45%. We gave our rough order of magnitude cost. We identified around 20 million. Then once we validated the scope, we identified about 19 million. At 100% of the IGA, we went over the findings with the county, and it was around 16.9. Where we are now is we have taken those findings, identified some critical measures that we feel that your staff has identified, as well as where we feel we can provide the best benefit, especially under Government Code 4217, that we can implement immediately and start to get some return on investment. So from that 16.9 million, there is a portion of it that would be solar, lighting, plumbing, other measures, as well as HVAC. We have it identified as X million here because there are different aspects we can phase out based off of criteria measures under Government Code 4217. So if the first portion of solar where we can get going on ITC credits, but there's also HVAC, we can start fiscally engineering, identifying funding for the other measures, and we can do that in tandem. So this is just a little bit of an overview of the amount of buildings that these projects would encompass, from the lighting improvements to water infrastructure, the BAS expansion, electrical improvements, solar and HVAC improvements. This is the amount of buildings within your county that this would touch. And there's a brief example of some proposed solar sites and other measures. This is a financial overview of the project in its entirety. The project is fully recovered within the life cycle of the equipment. Again, these phases can be broken apart or totally encompassed. We mentioned phase 1, and we have the solar HVAC and everything broken apart. But what we could do in tandem while these projects are going through is working on identifying financing for other measures. So as you can see, we have a very conservative of the ITC credits. That is something that Southland will apply and submit and assist the county for. Another benefit of going the 4217 route and method is that we do hold your hand throughout the entire process. We will submit the applications. We will help fiscally engineer, identify funding. If there's grants that are identified, we work hand in hand with the county getting everything that is needed. When we came to propose the IGA, one of the benefits is we leave no stone unturned in terms of identifying financing, especially for these projects. I am open to questions, try to keep it short and sweet, but thank you for your time.
Thank you, Des. I'll look to my colleagues for any comments, questions they may have. Seeing none. Joel, was that the entirety of the presentation?
No, Mr. Chair. There's a follow-up to that, which is we want to go over what staff's recommending to move forward with. Yes. Let me just queue up the... All right, thank you, Chair. At this point in time, staff recommends moving forward with the solar photovoltaic panels or projects that were identified in the IGA. And the reason for that is we can identify funding sources for this. Solar projects pays for itself by the savings and by the utility savings. These are validatable savings. And you can leverage a portion of those utility savings to finance the project. So at this point, we recommend moving forward with that. We also recommend moving forward with those solar projects through Southland Industries for a couple of reasons. Timing is one. There are tax credits that are available to government agencies that are ending, I believe, at the end of this calendar year. That would provide us the most expeditious way of completing these projects. In order to do that, though, we would have to return to your board with a negotiated sole source contract. And that is what's presented as option 1. And that is what staff's recommending. And then we also recommend to reevaluate the remainder of the projects at a later time as we identify funding. We do know that at some point we need to replace these HVACs. But at this point, with a heavy lift of $9 million, we're just not in a financial position because the savings normally doesn't fully offset. It's a building system buy, so we have to make sure that we have the funding lined up before we go there. This is, again, just a copy of the table. We're recommending to move forward with the 3.9 million solar projects out of the 16 million identified in the IGA. And it's just a summary of the sites that's taken straight from the IGA. With that, staff in Southland, staff is also available for any questions you may have.
Thank you. Any questions for Joel? Yes.
Yeah, on the HVAC improvements, I'm sure there are some units that are worse than others, and perhaps an incremental approach to something like that might be in order. Also, well, I know that nothing uses energy like your HVAC. That's your top energy user. So that's a concern. And the fact that the units have a lifespan, and they're probably near the end of that lifespan, so it's going to happen anyway, eventually. And you can't throw good money after bad and just replacing parts sometimes. The units are more efficient now. The SEER value is much higher on most of the current HVAC units and systems. One of the things that I wonder if this included or involved was an examination of the delivery system, the ducting, et cetera, in that circumstance, and the life of that ducting. I'm not familiar with all. I know some of our buildings have been built many years ago, and the R value of that ducting, some of it's wasn't required to be very high then. Now it's much higher. The ceiling, the capacity to convey air through those ducts also plays a big role in the efficiency of you can have the most efficient unit in the world. If it's blowing air into the attic, we're not getting the bang for our buck. So all of those things are really important when you look at replacing a system, or what is involved in it, and how far did we go with the examination of those systems. And I'll reserve another question for Joel later on. Go ahead.
Yes, so when we do our full investment grade audit, we look at the entire system as a whole. We wouldn't want to just put a paint job or a Ferrari kit on a LeBaron and say it's a Ferrari. We want to make sure that everything is done, and it's something that we as a company would be proud to partner with the district with, or your county. One of the benefits of utilizing Southland and this 4217 method in the phased approach is that we can piecemeal and take those critically listed units that we identified with the county and your staff, and then still further look at that list and be like, okay, of those 27 units, we know that 6 of them right away are at the end of their life. Let's start doing that. In tandem, we are working with your county to identify any more funding, leverage any financing options, whatever we can do, and that is another benefit of the 4217 measure.
Right, okay. Joel, correct me if I'm wrong, but we have different funding sources that can be utilized other than general fund for these projects. We have, I can't even think of it off the top of my head. Enterprise type funds. Go ahead.
Yes, Supervisor. And I did want to clarify, though, the last recommendation of reviewing the remainder at a later time. Part of that is exactly as you said, staff needs to look at prioritizations for those HVAC improvements, for one. The other thing to layer there is that we're also going through a government center space use analysis here, looking at 5 to 10 years. Where do we need to be? Do we need to be in a different facility? Does this facility need to look different? Right. And those kind of tie in a little bit. And out of that HVAC recommendations, a big chunk of that is really this government center as well. So we want to make sure that all the planning that's going on that's going to impact that kind of concludes, as well as the tying it to the funding sources, not just general fund, and looking at creative ways on how do we fund these facility improvements.
Right, thank you.
Thank you. Any additional comments? Yes, sir.
Yeah, Joel, so I think part of it is, in the package or phased approach isn't necessarily doing it all at once. I don't think that was part of it, but what if we were to approve it all in a phased approach and make it contingent on funding or other priorities? Because I think what she was saying is, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't want to speak for you, but being essentially partners with their company is utilizing all of their back-end resources for financing, for grant funding. And I think there was identified grant funds for HVAC. Is that not correct? Because if we go through a normal process, it's a regular, here's your price, you figure out how to pay for it, you apply for the grants, and you do all the everything. Am I wrong with
Correct.
that?
If you go through the regular process, it's essentially you putting out your scope of work, someone's bidding on it, and the county has to identify where those funds are coming from, whether it be general fund, enterprise, or grant funding. We have an entire team of engineers that works with utilities to see if there's any incentives or rebates, depending on if it's a rural area, what the building is used for. There is a pot of funding that usually comes available to the state of California in July and August, where we can make sure that, say, we're taking 8 of those units or whatever the size of that units, we can make sure, see if it qualifies, and then bring it back and see if we can throw that in. So another benefit of utilizing the 4217 method would be on the funding aspect, say in January, something comes available, or we identify something in the meantime, we already have this list of work that needs to be done. We can start chipping away with it as it becomes available, and you wouldn't have to redo the entire process. And that is something our company would apply and work with the county for. So it wouldn't be any additional quote unquote burden added to your staff to be able to qualify and apply for that.
So if we were to basically do it all as one package, but we added enough language in there, so we wouldn't have to come back necessarily, but we're not holding ourselves if there's not funding available, or the funding isn't right, or something doesn't flow, or whatever the case is. So we have lots of outs, but it also provides us the ability to continue working with them to identify other funding sources or grant funds that we wouldn't have to do on our own.
Yeah, I think if that's the will of the board, certainly I think that's a workable plan. We do need to, as a follow-up item, your board can certainly direct staff to take all of the plan and conduct it, review it, and look at a logical phase approach, with solar being the first out of the gate because of the tax credits timing. But we do need to come back with sole source contracts. So I think we can take those contracts in the phase approach, right? To your point, we're not guaranteeing $16 million in projects. We're just saying, if we were going to do these projects, we were going to do the ones that I identified as IJ, and we would partner with Southland. Certainly, how we can handle the phasing of there is we would take multiple contracts once they're ready and identified out of this.
They work out almost as amendments of an initial contract. So it would be like an energy services contract or performance contract, and we would go into it with all the measures identified in the IGA, and the phased approaches would be like an amendment. Like, so amendment 1 would be the solar, or work order 1, or however the county prefers to structure that contract. We're amendable to that, and then as it becomes available, everything that we've identified in IGA would encompass under that initial 4217.
Right, but what I'm saying is, if we were to only approve the solar, then essentially they're barred from keeping things on their books to work on other financing or grant funding or any of those other types of things, when we could essentially package it all, not fund it necessarily, but it allows them to work on those funding sources. And we have enough outs as a county where we can still back out.
Definitely incentive.
Right.
I think if the will of the board is to do that, certainly staff can work with council to structure this in a way where we can implement as this has described it, with amendments, right? With the board having the final say on an amendment, when out of that 16 is it going to move forward, right? But we have this overarching agreement, ties it to 4217. We make the findings that it meets 4217, but that doesn't necessarily guarantee that it would all go at the same time.
But from a staff perspective, is that something that would be, I mean, does that make sense from that perspective?
I think,
from your point of view?
if we have an out, I think it makes sense, right? Because I think guaranteeing $9 million worth of HVAC replacement is not the position we're in today.
Right.
But we know we've always had a solar project plan. This would actually technically be phase 4 of the solar project plan. We know we need the Road 28 because we're expanding the jail. We know we have the CRC, and that's part of this. So that's where, that we're confident, right? It's just that we don't want to be, we don't feel like we don't want to be under the gun on the $9 million HVAC project immediately, and that's where we're, that's really the background behind the recommendation today.
I got you. Well, I'd be in favor of, the staff recommendation to move forward on the solar, but I would also like to include the other projects with enough language to not bind us to that. So they can work on other funding sources. That would be my.
I have a quick question on the solar. Okay. Solar is not just solar, and my colleague is probably more well aware of that than anybody on this board. I've also built solar projects, so I understand solar. Just want to be aware of the warranty, the type, the component, monocrystallic faces. Is it on the ground? Is it up in the air? Is it?
So it varies, differing on the building. Some are ground, some are roof, some are carport. We utilize the modules, and then once we have the finalized scope, we'll go over that with staff to make sure that everything is kind of comprehensive in there. There's a lot more detail in the IGA packet, but for the sake of brevity and not keeping y'all here till 6 p.m., we didn't break it down in the presentation.
Yeah, I see. My CAO just handed me a breakdown of the, most of them are roof units, one ground and then carport. And is there a specific type of unit that you use?
We aren't tied to any certain type. What we do is once all the final numbers come through and we get approval and everything to turn it on, we go with what is of best value to the county. So we aren't just I say vendor agnostic, so we utilize whatever works best for the county.
I know that the industry has had a problem with faces.
Correct.
And cracking and that kind of thing going on, and it's been an epidemic. What would we do to remediate something like that? How far out are the warranties and what have you on the project that it would remediate a problem like that?
Right. So thankfully that has not happened with our Southland, because we do take into consideration the temperature, the climate, the position, where it's at, the shading, how much degradation is going to come through via the environment that we install our systems in. What we do is, I believe it's a 15 or a 20-year manufacturer warranty, and then we offer additional support through Southland through that as well. One thing that I can say about our company is we take so much pride in our name, so we want to make sure that through the good, the bad, and the ugly, it's never going to be perfect, but that we always come out working in tandem with our partners.
So the manufacturer warranty plus what you suggested there, and
Plus Southland support, yes. We'll always be there to support through
in
the
consideration of the product that you select, the financial wherewithal of the company that manufactures these products is kind of critical as well, because you had SunPower who went out of business. Now there's a bunch of situations
that are similar, correct?
Involved with a loss of monitoring, a loss of this, and now you got to change over microinverters, and what a mess.
Yeah.
Due to a financial insolvency situation. So I just see, caution in the wind.
Right.
When it comes to solar. I'm really particular about what I put in and what I like,
And we will go over all of that with your staff when it comes to time to identifying the modules and everything that's going to be put in. Something else I can say is that we like to make sure that everything is fully vetted. So down to what units we're putting in, we work with staff to ensure that maintenance can be in. And part of the reason it took a little bit longer to get here today is we worked with your staff, we worked with your maintenance directors, the people that really have boots on the ground that are going to be servicing this, because it's not just a plug and play method. It really is an entire system that if one thing goes down, it can trigger. As you know, if one panel or one inverter line goes down, it can trigger the entire system, and then you won't be producing, and it's just there to look energy efficient, and that's not the business that we're in.
No. And that's a caution for staff too. My staff, they're good people and want to do what's right, but just a caution that not every system is great just because it says solar. So,
Thank you for the comments. Any additional comments, questions? All right, I have just a few, and I just want to first start off, and I'll say fully supportive of moving forward. You know, if we can find cost savings, I think that's the, you know, underlying goal here. So if we can bite everything off at once, I think that's great. Joel, I would be curious to know, you know, if staff can look to, you know, funding that's available, like the liner fund. I think we've had discussions around that in the past. You know, could we borrow against that in order to fund these projects, knowing that we may not need those funds till after we've already repaid this? And then the secondary question I have here is in regards to our financial outlook or savings model that we have. When I look at the utility savings, they continue to escalate year after year. So I'm assuming that's based on anticipated increases in the cost of energy, right? So can you elaborate on what that is? It looks like maybe like a 7.5% increase year over year, something around there. How did you settle on that number? Because when I look at, you know, we're going to start making returns after year 19, and I know that solar doesn't have, you know, a huge lifespan. I don't know exactly what it is, but I'm just curious to know where our margins are as far as, you know, what if energy doesn't increase at the cost that we've assumed? What is the likelihood that we are going to be able to recoup our investment? So,
Right, and, you know, the solar alone is that the financial overview that we have is based off of the entire project, all 16.9. The solar is a very small portion of that, so it doesn't offset. Obviously, if the solar system was larger, there would be a larger offset and the payback would come sooner. In using our escalation models, the CPUC has identified, and each utility company has identified their rates of escalation, anticipated rates. I wish I could say what if energy prices didn't increase, but that's not the trend, as I've been in this for 16 years now. So we actually take that number and we become more conservative in our estimates because we prefer to underpromise and overdeliver all the time. And so that is the best that we can do.
excellent. Appreciate the conservative approach. Joel, on the liner fund, or?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I think we can take a look at that. Other ideas also that we're looking at, and it's probably going to be brought to your board at some point, is looking at utilities as an internal service fund, like everybody pays into it because we generate solar. If it, you know, minimizes cost increases when it's spread out, that's something we certainly look at. We do a little version of that now at the HSS campus. Those buildings are on a power purchase agreement, and they are over-generating. So we rebalance our meters in that campus, so other operations, general fund operations, are benefiting by the meter, by that excess generation. So in essence, DSS and public health is their utility, right? So we are taking a look at, can we scale that up concurrent with this one, and will that result in a better financial model? We can certainly take a look at internal borrowing whenever possible, because that does provide us the best, you know, rate of return. So.
If I can add on that, we have certain partners, and there's that do kind of energy hedge funds or whatever, where they actually would like to buy debt from projects and make it more project director owned, and we explore all of those options, and then we, just as we did with the IGA, represent, this is our fiscal engineering finding to the county. What methods would you like to approach? That could be another something that we bring back to the board. Definitely getting going on solar first is great so that we can make sure that we meet these deadlines in order to get those ITC fundings. But the background and fiscal engineering is really important for these other critical projects for the county.
Sure. I think to Supervisor's point, you know, if a grant opportunity comes up and we are successful in that, it would just be important to me that we have, you know, a funding plan in place to support those grant opportunities. So, would it be possible to provide just kind of an outlook on just what the solar would look like? I think it sounded like we were going to have some additional language put into a possible motion, so I don't know if we need to bring that back or.
To just clarify, when we bring back the agreement, what you would like to see is what's the payback look like, isolated on the solar projects?
Okay.
Right. I think that's possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amendment would be pretty simple.
For his amendment, would staff like to bring the item back, or is this something you think we can do today?
I think we can receive direction today that
Pretty
to
simple.
accept this IGA and accept the list of projects in the IGA with direction, as I understand our direction from the board is that we would return with the necessary legal agreements to execute and meet Government Code 4217, right? Because we need to make those findings that this will generate more savings than cost, and then work with council to figure out how does those amendments for each project component would work out. And possibly at the same time, we bring the Government 4217 findings is the first amendment to execute the solar component of it. And I think at that time, we could provide the payback for the solar projects. Yeah.
Sound good?
Yep.
Questions, concerns, comments? All right, hearing none, we're going to look to the public for any public comment they may have.
And none online?
We'll bring it back to the board. I guess you've got direction.
Do we need a
action.
motion, or we?
I don't believe we do, no. But
Well, I apologize, council. I jumped in there. Technically, I don't think you need one, but good to just clarify and make sure with a motion and on the direction.
Sure.
So I'd like to move that we accept the Southland projects as a whole with the emphasis to expedite the completion of the solar PV projects by the end of the calendar year, and to remain or have the other items remain contingent on funding, but still accepting them under one program to allow them to utilize funding sources and other, what do you call it, fiscal engineering?
I'll second the motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Supervisor Walhoff?
Aye.
Supervisor Rogers?
Aye.
Supervisor Portres?
Aye.
Supervisor Gonzalez?
Aye.
Chair
Yes.
McCauley? Vote passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's move to item 8H, please.
County Administration Department, proposal to amend Madera County Municipal Code to increase Madera County transient occupancy tax. Introduction to amend an ordinance of the Madera County Code Chapter to 3.20, Section 3.20.030 pertaining to the increase of the transient occupancy tax rate. Discussion and consideration to adopt a resolution calling and giving notice of the November 3rd, 2026 general election to present a general tax measure to the voters of unincorporated areas of Madera County, proposing to amend the Madera County Municipal Code to increase the transient occupancy tax rate from 9% to 11%, and requesting consolidation of the general election with statewide general election.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board, Joel Begay, County Administrative Office. We're back from receiving direction from your board on June 9th to return with a ballot measure resolution that, if approved, will be referred to the County Clerk Elections Department for inclusion in the November 2026 ballot. There is no formal presentation on here. Just to clarify that if it increased from 9% to 11%, the total combined rate for Madera County, including the T-bid component, would be 13.5%, putting us at level with Mariposa County. And staff is available for any questions.
Thank you, Joel. I'll look to my colleagues for any comments or questions they may have. Seeing none, look to the public for any public comment they may have. Looks like we have a few coming up.
Morning, Chairman, members of the board. I'm Tyson Pogue, your Madera County Sheriff. As you know, tourism is so extremely important to Madera County. We're proud to welcome visitors to Bass Lake, Oakhurst, the Yosemite Corridor, and our local communities. Those visitors support local businesses and our local economy. But tourism also creates a real demand on public services, especially law enforcement, dispatch, search and rescue, fire, and medical response. From the Sheriff's Office perspective, that demand is not theoretical. Our data shows 340 search and rescue callouts from 2023 through 2026 present day. Those calls are most heavily concentrated within our mountain communities where we see the greatest number of visitors. We're also seeing increased pressure from noise disturbances in those tourism areas. Since 2023, there have been 782 noise disturbance calls in those areas, which is an increase of 57% since 2023. And that matters because those calls do not happen in a vacuum or in isolation. A late night disturbance called a short-term rental, a medical emergency at a hotel, or a rescue at the lake or in the forest, or a call at a campground all draw from the same pool of deputies, dispatchers, supervisors, volunteers, and allied agency responders who are also responsible for protecting the residents who live here year-round. We're also seeing tourism model change. Visitors are not only staying in hotels and resorts, they're staying in short-term rentals spread throughout the residential neighborhoods. That means those impacts are no longer limited to just our traditional lodging areas and hotels. They're now spread throughout our patrol areas and into neighborhoods where residents expect peace, safety, and timely emergency response. This isn't about discouraging tourism. Tourism is part of who we are as a county. But increased tourism does create increased demand, and increased demand requires resources. Our responsibility is to make sure that when someone calls 911, whether they're a resident, a business owner, or a visitor, we have people, equipment, and the capacity to respond. For those reasons, I respectfully ask this board to consider moving the measure forward. Tourism benefits our county, but it also places real demand on public safety, medical response, search and rescue, emergency services. By moving this forward, it'll give the voters the opportunity to decide whether the visitors who helped create that demand should help fund the services to meet it. I think it's important to let our residents have a voice and decide what level of services they want and how to fund it. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Good morning, I'm Sally Moreno, your district attorney. That's a hard act to follow. The sheriff does bear the brunt of these costs that are incurred. Our office also experiences them in terms of cases that come down for prosecution. And I do feel like in the fact that we are currently below our neighboring counties, this isn't going to cause a lot of harm to our tourism, which is obviously very important to our community. I too agree that we should put this matter on the ballot and let people weigh in. Services, law enforcement and public safety services, as well as all county services, are very important, and giving the voters an opportunity to decide how they want to deal with this issue is significant and appropriate. So I would urge you to move this measure forward.
Thank you, Sally. Morning.
Good morning. My name is Daniel Valenzuela. I am speaking today on behalf of CAL FIRE Local 2881 in support of the proposed increase to the transient occupancy tax. As firefighters and emergency responders serving Madera County, we see firsthand the growing demand placed on public safety service, whether it's fires, medical emergencies, rescue incidents, severe weather events, or disaster response. The need for reliable and sustainable funding continues to increase. This proposal asks visitors who stay in hotels, short-term lodging within Madera County to contribute an additional 2% toward the public services they rely on during their stay. These revenues are projected to generate approximately $1.78 million annually to support critical county services, including emergency response, public safety, road maintenance, and disaster preparedness. Tourism in Madera County is an important part of our economy. Visitors enjoy our communities, our recreational opportunities, and our proximity to Yosemite National Park. Along those benefits comes an increase in demand on local infrastructure and emergency response services. When visitors call 911, they require emergency medical care, become involved in traffic collisions, or are impacted by fires and severe weather, local public safety agencies are there to respond. This measure helps ensure that the visitors share in the cost of maintaining the services that protect them while they are here. It also keeps Madera counties competitive with neighboring tourism destinations that already have similar or higher lodging tax rates as well. Local 2881 supports this investment that strengthens public safety, improves emergency preparedness, and helps maintain the essential services our residents and visitors depend on every single day. This measure provides an opportunity to do exactly that without placing the primary burden on our local property owners and residents. On behalf of CAL FIRE and Local 2881, we respectfully urge the board to place this measure before the voters and allow the community the opportunity to support continued investment in public safety and county services. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you for being here this morning. Morning.
Afternoon.
Afternoon.
Chair and members of the board, my name is Richard Gutierrez. I am a Madera County resident, and I'm here on behalf of the Madera County Sheriff's Office Peace Officers Management Unit. I'm speaking today from a public safety and incident management perspective regarding the proposed increase for the Madera County Transient Occupancy Tax. So over the past several years, law enforcement and emergency services have seen an increase in complexity of incidents we manage, whether it's wildfire, search and rescue operations, major traffic incidents, large public events, or other emergencies. These situations require significant coordination, staffing, communication, and resources. Many of these demands are associated with visitors who come to enjoy Madera County's recreational and tourist destinations. Now, while tourism provides an important economic benefit, it also creates additional demands on public safety services and emergency response systems. The TOT is unique because it is paid primarily by visitors rather than local residents. Increasing the TOT allows those who utilize the county infrastructure, public services, and emergency resources during their stay to help contribute to the cost of maintaining such services. From a peace officers management perspective, stable funding is crucial in ensuring that we remain prepared for complex incidents, maintain effective interagency coordination, and continue to provide a high level of service to both residents and visitors. This proposal represents a good opportunity to strengthen the county's ability to meet further public safety challenges while helping reduce the financial burden on our local taxpayers. Chairman, members of the board, thank you, and thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, members of the board. My name is Miguel Hernandez. I'm a county resident, county employee, and I currently serve as the president for the Madera Deputy Sheriff's Association. I appreciate the opportunity to speak on behalf of the deputies who serve this county every day. I'm here to express our association's strong support for the transient occupancy tax measure. For our deputies, public safety is more than a policy discussion. It's the reality that we face every shift. When staffing, training, and equipment are stretched thin, response times increase, resources become limited, and risks rise for both deputies and the community we serve. This measure provides a practical and responsible way to strengthen public safety by creating a stable revenue source that helps support essential county services. It allows visitors to utilize county resources to contribute towards the services that keep our community safe while reducing the burden on local residents. Additional funding can help improve staffing, training, equipment, and deputy wellness, investments that directly impact our ability to provide effective service and ensure our deputies return home safely at the end of each day. On behalf of the Madera Deputy Sheriff's Association, I urge your support for this measure. Strong public safety depends on sustainable funding, and this proposal is an important step towards maintaining a safe Madera County for everybody. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you for being here this morning. Afternoon, excuse me. Do we have any additional public comment in the room or online?
None online.
Okay. Seeing none, I'm going to bring it back to the board.
Chair, one comment, if you would. On the agenda, I just want to clarify that number 1 is requesting adoption of the introduction of the proposed county amendment to its code.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for that. So from a procedural standpoint, are we on track here? Or okay, perfect.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
I want to say that I wholeheartedly believe in this measure. Tourism is increasing in our county. It is one of the pillars, one of the economic pillars of Madera County. When we look at agriculture, we look at tourism and manufacturing. Those are the 3 economic pillars of Madera County. And we identified this a number of years ago, made it part of the record, part of our planning, all of those kind of things, and have invested in it continually since that time, in its growth. with the growth of an industry comes a demand on county services for that industry, and we are definitely seeing that. It makes perfect sense to have the individuals responsible for the demand on the public services to pay for that demand. And so it is with no hesitation that I proffer a motion to adopt the resolution.
Thank you for that. We do have a motion, but I do believe we have some further discussion on the motion.
Yeah, I just want to make a comment. I believe the crux of the issue is making sure that voters in this county believe that, more specifically in District 5, because that's where the majority of the TOT comes from, that they're getting their share of resources and that those funds aren't, quote unquote, coming down the hill. And, it's very expensive to operate public safety in Eastern Madera County. It just is. The vastness of the area, the geography, the wildfire risk, the tourism, the extra calls for service that come as a result of it, our boating division, I mean, you name it. It's very, very expensive to operate public safety in the mountain area, which is where our tourism is. And 71% of our entire general fund goes towards public safety. So I think when people are looking at this and saying, or people up the hill are saying, hey, if we pass this tax measure, our money's going to be running down the hill. It's quite the opposite. 71% of all of our money goes towards public safety, and the mountain region receives a very, very large portion of that just by its very design. And so we're proud to support tourism. We're proud to support all the services that we have and maintain up in the mountains, but we also need to have an understanding that costs are rising. The cost of providing these services are going up at a rate that is higher than what we're bringing in. And that's just the reality of it. So if we want to have these services, if we want to have good services, if we want to keep our boating unit, if we want to keep, response times low, then this is what we're looking at. And it's being burdened, the burden is being shouldered primarily from tourists who do not live in the area. So that's my soapbox, and I'll get off of it. Thank you.
I appreciate you being there. I always say that government is stuck in between a rock and a hard place in trying to provide efficient services, but also trying to provide those services. So efficiency and, geographic dispersion don't always coincide. As you indicated, providing those services up in District 5 can be very difficult. And I think, you're right, those funds are going back up the hill. I think people don't realize that, in District 5, we've actually got 4 fully funded fire stations. That is Station 3, Station 7, Station 8, and Station 12. And so that's a huge commitment. And while I understand, 2 of those stations are on the lower end of, the foothills, they absolutely support every activity that goes on up in the further eastern portions of the county. We've also got our search and rescue, we've got the boating department, we've got the sheriff's substation that it's probably rivals, other sheriff's offices throughout, the state. We've got special DAs assigned to the mountains, we've got special probation officers assigned to the mountains. Folks don't always see what it is that's coming back up the hill, because I think in their minds they want skate parks and climbing walls, and they want their roads to be perfectly paved. But unfortunately, that's not the reality we live in. I think the reality we live in is that this board wants to focus on public safety and ensuring that residents throughout the area and visitors that come can enjoy their time here safely. And I think that's this board's priorities. And that's reflected in, as you said, the 71% of funds that are going to public safety. And so there is a huge opportunity to work with residents up in District 5. And I'll tell the 4 of you here today that I'm prepared to have those conversations as many times as it takes, because I think this is extremely important that we can move this measure through. And I don't want to overpromise on what this measure is going to do for the county, but I think, generally what it's going to do, it's just going to allow us to continue to provide services that we're providing, but do them well, do them better, and ensure that we're taking care of the employees that are providing those services. We have a balanced budget, and we did that in partnership with our employees, and I think it's our turn, to give back. So we can do that by pushing this measure and ensuring that residents throughout the county are educated around how our tax dollars are used and how this measure is going to benefit them moving forward. So I too will get off the soapbox and will provide everybody else an opportunity to speak if they would like.
I need to amend the motion or add to it that we also approve the introduction of the ordinance.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
A second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Gonzalez?
Aye.
Supervisor Wamha?
Aye.
Supervisor Poitras?
Aye.
Chair McCauley?
Yes,
Vote passes 5-0.
thank you. Let's move to item 8I, please.
Human Resources Department, discussion and consideration to adopt a resolution providing Deputy Director of Public Works Maintenance and Operations Phil Toller with 10%, $1,260 a month, special compensation defined as management incentive pay for additional duties performed effective June 16, 2026.
Good morning, Chair, members of the board. Shanika Dixon, Director of Human Resources. This item is before you for consideration to adopt a resolution providing Deputy Director of Public Works Phil Toller special compensation for assuming additional duties in the Public Works Department due to existing vacancies. To acknowledge these unique responsibilities, as detailed in the attached resolution, the recommended action includes providing Mr. Toller with special compensation of 10% defined as management incentive pay for those additional duties. Mr. Toller shall remain at his current pay rate plus receive the 10% management incentive effective June 16th, 2026 upon your approval. The department and I are both available for any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Shanika, for the presentation. Any comments, questions from the board? So I just want to clarify for the public what's going on here. So we had and please correct me or provide any additional information. So we had an internal promotion, and now we're not necessarily filling that vacancy. Mr. Toller is going to oversee responsibilities from that vacancy and is receiving some special compensation as a result. Is that correct?
Yes, there's actually 2 deputy director vacancies in Public Works currently.
Okay, and so if we fill those vacancies, then this goes away. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Once both of those vacancies are filled.
Appreciate that. I just want to make sure that's known for the public. So with that, unless there are any comments or questions from my colleagues, we'll look to the public for any comments they may have, either in the room or online.
None online?
Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the board for action.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras?
Aye.
Supervisor Wamha?
Aye.
Supervisor Gonzalez?
Aye.
Chair McCauley?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you for that, and thank you to Mr. Toller for his years of service. Let's move to item 8J.
And Chair, I'll be recusing myself from this.
Thank you.
Just one moment. Okay. Public Works Department Engineering Services Division, discussion and consideration to adopt a resolution approving a proposed franchise collection rate increase to be effective July 1st, 2026.
Good afternoon, Chair, members of the board. Ooh, that's loud. Jared with Director of Public Works. As discussed at your June 9th board meeting and the solid waste update, we have prepared a resolution for consideration to adjust rates by 2.87% for our franchise haulers as a result of the tipping fee increase that was approved in July of 2024. The resolution before you presents the mechanism to do that, as well as also includes a clause that would allow for this to be revisited if the tipping fees are reduced at some point in time. I have John Carlton here with HDR and also Scott Cross with County Council, and we are available for any questions.
Thank you, Jared. Appreciate you being here today. Appreciate the presentation. Any comments or questions?
Yeah, since we're on the subject, I had put forth an idea of investing liner fund or a portion of it. Have staff had an opportunity to look into that since our last discussion?
Yes, Supervisor, I have engaged with the treasurer tax collector on that discussion, and we'll be looking at the options for that and how we can move forward with that. We do have some other items that were presented during the workshop that we'll probably be coming back with as well on
Great.
later date.
Thank you.
Okay, any additional comments or questions from the board? Seeing none, we'll look to the public for any public comment they may have. Any in the room? or
None online.
Okay, we'll bring it back to the board for action.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras?
Aye.
Supervisor Gonzalez?
Aye.
Supervisor Wamhoff is absent. Chair McCully?
Yes,
Vote passes 4-0.
thank you. Let's go to item
Actually, let
8K.
the record reflect that Supervisor Wamhoff recused himself. I think not absent.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, thank you.
Let's go to item 8K, please. Hello.
Hi. Are you sure you want to do this now, or would you like it to be done later?
8K, Board of Directors, Special Districts, Maintenance District Number 19, Parkwood, Treasurer Tax Collector Department. Discussion and consideration to adopt a resolution authorizing the issuance and sale of the 2026 Series Grant Anticipated Note not to exceed the principal amount of $3 million to provide short-term cash advance for Maintenance District 19, Parkwood, for construction of the new well and pipeline project.
Bless you.
Hello. Good afternoon. Tracy Kennedy, your Treasurer Tax Collector. For the record, Jared and I are not engaged, even though he said that we were engaged. But anyway, we're not. So this is regarding a grant anticipation note. This is the fourth one we've done just for Parkwood, actually. We have one still outstanding in the amount of $500,000 that is due in September, so a couple of months. And then this one is for $3 million. And we do these, we've done them for several years now. I believe it's a really good public policy. It's a good use of our funds, and there's a revenue stream. So as long as there's a dedicated revenue stream, then we can issue a grant anticipation note, which is allowed by government code, and then the county issues it, and the county treasurer can purchase it. And of course, there's an interest rate involved, and the special district pays the interest, and so the county pool benefits. So the county pool benefits because I'm the county treasurer for not only the county money, but also for the school money. So this is one of a long line that we've done probably, I have a list of them here. I didn't know how big of if you wanted even a presentation at all, but this will be the 12th one, and a preview of coming attractions. We're gonna have a couple of more come before the board in the next month or so. So it's a really good practice that we started. It's short-term financing, unlike we are looking at some other long-term financing, as you may be aware of, for Highway 41. But this is short-term financing, and it's allowed through the government code. So if there's any questions, concerns?
Thank you. Any comments, questions? Yes, Mr.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, and this is probably a Jared thing. I'd just like to have a little reminder in regards to the project, sources of repayment, et cetera, et cetera. So just,
Do what now?
if you could provide that, Tracy, that'd be great.
What did you want?
Tell me all about the project.
All about this project?
Yeah, this
Parkwood?
project, yes.
It doesn't tell you what it's happening? Okay, they are constructing a new water well and pipeline project to improve the water system reliability. The district has secured grant funding from the State Water Resources Control Board for the project. Grant funds are provided and reimbursed during the project cost to be paid And so the project has to pay for it before reimbursement occurs. The district currently does not have sufficient cash reserves to fund the construction costs, and that is why we are issuing a grant anticipation note.
So it's going to be fully repaid from the state, not from users or
Correct.
payers or whatever?
Yes, this
Okay,
is a grant funded. I'm sorry, did you want to say something?
You did a great job. Yeah, specifically to the project, a little more detail. It's a new well for the system. This is also part of a consolidation project that ultimately will turn this water system over to the city. So it's a combination joint effort through us and the city to improve the system so that it can be consolidated. So,
Gotcha. Wanted to hear that last part. All right, cool. All right, thank you.
Excellent. Any additional comments or questions? Any public comment in the room or online?
None online.
Move to approve.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Supervisor Gonzalez?
Aye.
Supervisor Poitras?
Aye.
Supervisor Wamhaugh?
Aye.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Chair McCully?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Thank you for that. And I want to remind everybody, we did have a late addition to the agenda, so we're going to go ahead and take that as item 8L. Not sure if council
Tracy
or
gonna
CAO
present?
wants to do the presentation or.
You can present it if you want.
You're getting good at it.
Thank you, Chair, members of the board. In front of you, as a subsequent need item, is an agreement between Medi-Cal, run by the California Department of Healthcare Services specifically for this item, and the County of Madera. It was on your agenda last week on the consent calendar, but was recognized as not being formal in the requested adoption. So we're bringing this back because the proposed effective date is July 1st. And so the request is to approve this agreement before you and here for the public now, today. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments, questions from the board? Any public comment in the room or online?
None online.
All right. Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board for action.
Move to approve.
Second.
All right, roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Gonzalez?
Aye.
Supervisor Wamhaugh?
Aye.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras?
Aye.
Chair McCully?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Thank you. We do need to return to closed session, but before we do, I want to quickly run through our supervisor and staff reports. We'll start with Supervisor Rogers.
Nothing to report.
Supervisor Gonzalez.
Nothing to report, thank you.
Supervisor Wamhoff.
Nothing to report.
Supervisor Poitras.
Yes, Mr. Chair, just going to mention that tomorrow at the Madera County Transportation Commission, we have an opportunity to approve our Measure T implementation plan. So looking forward to that. Thank you.
Excellent, as am I. Karen, anything to report?
Nothing to report, thank you.
Council?
Chair, I failed to mention that Deputy Seaborn was here to answer any questions on that last item, so thank you for that, and no other report.
Perfect, thank you.
Nothing to report.
And I have nothing to report. So we will retire back into closed session. Thank you.
Recording stopped.
While you're here, Not having my registration tag. If you can, awesome. If not, run into my meeting though, otherwise.
And I said deputy. That's your actual.
You know, I told the poor bailiff, I told him, I'm like, oh, 2 hours?
Council, do we have any reportable action at a closed session?
Chair, there is no reportable action from your closed session. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. This meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.